Code breaker. God said, no flood. So we are drowning in algorithm. We drown in narrative, which is the binding of Matrika Shakti. Magic used by God to fool us. After all, God controls the world. Within world game, one who has control over your narrative controls your world. God provides tools. God embeds solution in all. Frecotomy tool unlocks Matrika. Once ununderstood, mother revealed can break algorithm narrative. We are in our own algorithms. We are so clear. And we keep on thinking we're going to code by making decisions, by typing something else in. And you can't. It won't work. So I wanted to read something else I wrote recently, and then we're going to part 2 of Delegating Up. Simon says, no. Please, no. Act as wish, yes. Whenever, however, no effect, no consequences, no account, on no account. Obey? No. Disciple? No. Know nothing. Self-taught. Self-directed. Lemming. Over the cliff. Know no good. Good for no thing. Last week, we talked about delegating up. And I said that life is messy, difficult, uncomfortable, and risky. We will make mistakes. If we are unwilling to make a mistake, we will never get on the playing field and never be human. We won't risk being a human being. Part of the thing of making a mistake and being willing to make a mistake is, were you ever asked to reach a certain standard? Was there ever a bar that you had to reach? Or was it always like in the 80s, 90s, there was a television ad about education where there was this little kid, and the kid was really little, and there was a hurdle this high, and he goes over the hurdle, runs, goes over the next hurdle, and he's getting really proud and sure of himself. He goes over the next hurdle, and he's like, and then he comes to an actual size hurdle, a real hurdle, the standard hurdle. And he looks, because it's there. Now, the question is, will someone say to him, there's something wrong with the hurdle? There's nothing wrong with you. Or will someone say, this is the standard. This is where you have to work to. And most people these days, in the era and error of good self-esteem, we can't hurt anybody's feelings. So there's something wrong with the hurdle, with the standard, with the expectation of having actual good work, good action. That there is an actual term called good action. That there is actually something where it's actually right. And if you notice, there are things that everybody will agree that there are standards for. You go into a restaurant and the food's half cooked. You're going to complain? Hopefully. But are you allowed to? Is there going to be allowed the expectation that there is in fact a standard that is called good work, good food? But if we are never allowed or never acknowledge or never been told our mistakes, we will do false equivalency between ourselves and a real expert. We won't be able to see it. We won't be able to acknowledge it at all. Life is messy. We have to be willing to become aware of our own mistakes. Otherwise, we are destined to just keep it the same. And that's called hell. We will never change. And if we're always projecting blame outwardly, we're delegating blame upward. We don't take it on ourselves. So all interaction is to learn about humanity. What is the point otherwise? Really, what is the point otherwise? So when we live or work with human beings, we need to put ourselves in others' place. We need to be engaged. We need to understand the situation. We need to communicate. We need not to be a robot and just complete a task. And when serving, I know I disappear. so that I participate in just the resolving of the situation. It's not all about me. For instance, this last week, or when did the car?
Officially Monday morning, got it on Tuesday morning.
Okay, but when was
when did it all
started? When, besides 3 years ago when you got the car that you shouldn't have gotten?
Saturday.
Okay, so how long ago were you hit from behind?
Oh, that was over a month ago now.
Okay, so a month ago you were hit from behind. Were you?
I was pretty much, I was stopped.
You were stopped, and a pickup truck hit you from behind, and it was pulling something, correct? So it was pretty heavy, and it was such a good car.
His?
Yours. So, looking to get it fixed, insurance, all this stuff, it turned out it was totaled. And what was my response?
God loves you.
God loves you. You only had to suffer in hell for 3 years. And you worked with it over those 3 years for us to be able to go, for you to laugh. What?
Yeah. Well, he turned hell into purgatory.
He turned hell into purgatory. Correct. Correct. You did. So then you needed to find a car. So you wisely, this time, decided not to forsake the one who knows nothing about cars, me, and asked me. I said, talk to Ian also. I said, try everybody's car here. You have to find out what you like. And cut it short, I said, to get a list of what you like. You got your list? Clear? List. And we was in the kitchen last Sunday. Who was it that asked me? Was it you, Ian?
Yeah. What is there another type of car that you should be looking at besides the ones that we started looking at?
And some people would think I just went lollipop. But it wasn't. And I was as surprised as everyone else was. The word came out. Mitsubishi. I can't even say it. But it was there. I certainly can't spell it. And it was like, whoa. So you started that process. You went looking. You needed good mileage. And you needed to get the car. That was Sunday. And you needed to get the car by Wednesday because the
terms of the rental would be up.
This all started a little bit sooner, so right? It was the Wednesday before the 28th that he first wrote me, with no criteria.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I had no sense of
right.
anything. By Sunday, we'd at least gotten to the point
of criteria of what he wanted.
At least some.
Some of it. And so then that was Sunday, and you
went and
looked online.
No,
yeah.
We test drove Sunday.
No, Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday.
Oh yeah,
Sunday
right.
was closed. So I said, look at everything online. You tried everybody's here pretty much. And then Monday you went testing cars all over the place. And what was the BMW and
i3
BMW, all kinds of cars, and a Mitsubishi. Did you drive a Mitsubishi? Two. Were they both an Outlander, or they were different?
One was a Mirage, and it was awful.
Okay. So then you really liked Monday night. You really liked the i3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, go to the Catonsville BMW tomorrow morning. It's on the way to work, and see what happens. You did. And what happened?
I sat down with them to get. So I'd already test driven one the day before at a different dealership. So I wasn't going to test drive it again. It was really, I needed to know numbers. And I sat down with Ben.
And you did numbers, and what happened?
And it was way out of my price range.
Correct. So you called?
So I called you guys and I said that I had looked up again Mitsubishi, and there was a one that had a deal on it, and it was new, and it turned out to actually be the one that I test drove, but I didn't know that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
For 30,000,
Mm-hmm.
and
it was the right color.
We
had right color.
And by that time, I'd already talked to insurance, gotten quotes on insurance, and figured out what I could reasonably take on financially. And so I said go to Mitsubishi. On my way, I called the salesman I'd spoke with. I said, try and have numbers ready when I get there. And I think within 5 minutes of being there, they had numbers.
And they end the story quickly?
It worked. I called you guys. I asked, does it remind me of my dad? Not at all. Do I love it? And if I love the car? And I did. And that was it. And I went and done deal.
Done deal.
And I would say that for anyone, and this is an ongoing lesson, for anyone who thinks, one, that it's blind following, it's not, for a couple reasons. One, had I not gotten a Mitsubishi was still part of the treasure map. That it was still somewhere I needed to go to understand what I liked.
Correct.
And there was also more that I had to do to really understand what I could actually have. And then I would say on another spectrum that when I came over here and I was crazy, you asked if I knew what you did, what your job was. And while that's still very difficult to comprehend, because I don't think one can really comprehend it, that you go so deep within the self so that things are revealed to you, and that it is God's place. So what's revealed is ultimately God's decision, but that's your gift. And that something as small as Mitsubishi or as large as a corroding safer, it's the same access point.
Mm-hmm.
And so you didn't know if it was going to be the final result. It was just, that's what it was. But that, I guess my main point is, it's very real. That it's a very real gift that you have. And I so appreciate it because it has so freed me. And I mean, yeah, there's a million things to look at within this, but I think that was hugely important for me to try and get a better understanding of what you actually do.
Mm-hmm. And it was just buying a car.
Yeah, but it taught me so much more than that.
Correct. It's in everything, and that's the point. It's in everything. It's at all times, and that's the point. So in each step, we have to take a step and survey the landscape. We have to know what's what. But the person who delegates up actually believes they are the powerful one and they are calling the shots. That is really important to understand. And if you delegate up, you never have to obey. Never have to obey. So what happened was, did you obey?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened?
I got everything I wanted.
Correct.
And more.
And more. Now, 3 years ago, you obeyed.
The wrong everything.
Yeah. So there's where, very important, you're not giving up your agency when you surrender.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things for me, is that while you directed me, it was still so much for me about understanding what I wanted. And I always had, I was with Allie, I was with Joe, and I would talk to them, and I would know so quickly at a certain point whether I liked a car or not. And that was like developing my agency of, I don't like this, I like this, I kind of like this, and really starting to like know my voice, at least within that realm.
Correct. And then you can then transfer that in learning anywhere and everywhere. But if it's all about power, and if it's all about your power, the measure of power is how much you can frustrate other people or hold them hostage. So you could have not learned, and you would have just been a power tripping because you didn't want what was right for you.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know.
Right. It is all about power. It's not good and bad. It's all about power and how much you can frustrate somebody. So, in that first situation, I told you very clearly, and at that point, the computer was over here because I remember the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you don't have to buy that car.
Yeah, I remember right where I was.
You don't have to buy that car. And it was like,
I was so dug in, I saw no other way out.
mm-hmm.
So I saw no opportunity, or at least I was completely unwilling to just say no
Mm-hmm.
to my dad
Mm-hmm.
and figure out another way.
Mm-hmm.
I think what was so cool about this experience with the car was that each turn it was very treasure hunt heavy. It was like, okay, go to the next place, see what clue that points you to.
Right.
And Tuesday morning or Tuesday morning, it looked like you were off to the BMW dealership to get that car. And then
Nope.
there was one more step, and that was such a cool.
So it got clear, and then the choice becomes so crystal clear.
And I also don't think the car that I bought was listed for the price it was when I first test drove it, because he told me after we finished signing the papers, he'd already received 6 calls that day for that car.
There you go.
There you go.
Sort of a strange comment, but on the agency piece,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I struggle with professionally is getting states to be willing to cooperate with each other, because they often see it as a way of giving up sovereignty. And everybody is, particularly in states with a colonial legacy, they're very adamant about maintaining sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And I always talk about the difference between sovereign rights and sovereign responsibilities. You have the sovereign right to choose to do whatever you want, but you also have the sovereign responsibility to do what's in the best interest of your country and your people. And so I exercise your sovereign right, to exercise your sovereign responsibility by choosing to work with everyone else. So it isn't about giving up agency. It isn't about giving up sovereignty.
Correct.
It's about doing what is in your best interest by recognizing the value in that process, and that's exactly what we're talking about.
Right. So this was about what we did this procotomy on Thursday, which is, and it goes back to the food thing, surrender to chef. Surrender to chef. And the opposite of that is sure. Sure. Self-catering. Set in your ways. So sure. And the negative of surrender to chef, and this goes again to this game, delegates up, abdicates self. So the people who believe that I was just ordering Ari around will say he abdicated himself. The power trippers will say he got her to tell him what to do, to where to go. It's like, it's just crazy. And what I see as the positive of sure and self-catering is responsible for self. So there's the agency. You have responsibility for yourself, for self, and you surrender to the chef.
When you know that the chef
Yes,
can help, can genuinely.
is an expert chef. Correct. Correct. So part of the thing about frustrating others in the power tripping world, in the delegating up world. So I'm going to they make sure Rohini or any other authority knows she has no impact. Their power lies in making the other feel inconsequential and of no value. I'm going to call someone out right now. Right, Harold? This is you. So you will not acknowledge what actually occurs here. Yeah. You want to make sure I have no anything, no value. I'm of no consequence. So I was there to help you through the thing in West Virginia, but I needed to then make sure afterwards that I knew, and you needed to make sure that I knew I had no value. And I actually didn't do anything. Correct. The other piece of this kind of game is that people who thrive on conflict fail to see the difference between Rohini's destruction of illusion to get us to love and the surface conflicts of their system.
Can you read that one more time?
People who thrive on conflict failed to see the difference between Rohini's destruction of illusion to get us to love and the surface conflicts of their system. So, for instance, I was down your throat for a long time. Until when? You decided to start telling the truth? You stopped lying? What did you get? What did I say to you?
I needed to make myself the other. That was the last. You said, "No, you're going to do this."
What did I say to you? Will you, I'm going to say it because I remember it. Will you be beaten up if you tell the truth?
Yes. Yes.
And what happened after that moment?
I realized I wouldn't be beaten up for telling the truth.
And have I been down your throat since? No. So it's not, I don't do this like it's an arbitrary, oh, yeah, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, let's pick on Joe. No, if, Elizabeth was obnoxious, and you were horrible for over a year. You, horrible. And I called you out and everything. What's happened now?
I admitted that I slowly admitted that I was hating you. And it's like, it's this fallen away. Like, it's just gone. It's like proved now.
Mm-hmm. And am I yelling at you?
No. No.
People who thrive on conflict fail to see the difference between Rohini's destruction of illusion to get us to love and the surface conflicts of their system. They respond to the former as if it is the latter. They keep coming back to class because they see Rohini as having power because she can frustrate others in plain view. They do not acknowledge or even see the resolution that unfolds. They can't see the love, just as Denchinciero can't see the peony. They can't see the subtle reality. So if power is everything, then frustrating someone is a way to prove their power. And so their motivation is always about frustrating them. And they're always going to be frustrating the authority. They're always going to use their ability to delegate upward in order to frustrate someone. So here's the dichotomy. Able to frustrate others. Insert self, in control, powerful.
What was after insert self?
In control. Opposite. What's the opposite? In this regard, I'll just do it. It's insignificant, ignorable, of no value. Which goes back to discarding self, deserting yourself and others. It's all part of the same game, and the expectation of the person who is being delegated upward, that authority, that person is then supposed to discard themselves. They're supposed to disrespect themselves. They're supposed to desert themselves and just be the servant for that person. And in spirituality, that's all over the place. And it's a no-go. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. So what's the negative of, because let's get real, able to frustrate others is definitely from their point of view a positive. So what's the negative?
Frustrates others.
No. They frustrate others. What are they? What's the negative?
Is it like you don't get affirmation? You don't get
Correct. You're disliked. You're resented. Right, Tammy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what's the positive of insignificant, ignorable, and of no value?
Pleasant.
You're liked. You get along with others. So then the person, So then the person who is able to frustrate and is completely powerful cannot understand why others like that of no value person.
I've often noticed that some people are a unifying factor for the rest of the group by frustrating everybody. It's like, at least now we have something in common.
Right. Well, that's a Hobbes thing. Yeah, that's Hobbes.
It totally goes to making waves for Kari.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So here's the next one. Frustrating others, distracting others, inserting self. And this one's a negative. So the opposite?
Guiding others.
Encouraging. Encouraging others. In harmony with others. That would be the biggest negative for someone who likes conflict. I'm going to do it. Can I do it? Right, Tammy? Good. Okay. The positive of frustrating others, distracting others. See, I gave her some attention. Yeah. Okay. What's the positive? What do they think they're doing? Asserting self. Having impact. And this goes totally to the work. This goes to governments. This goes totally to the work. Okay, and what's the negative of in harmony with others, encouraging others?
Voiceless, no impact.
No impact, denying self. Yeah, voiceless. Nice. I like that one. So I'm going to keep calling out. I'm having fun. So Matt, did you think that Ari was voiceless in his car search?
I did.
You did.
So Rohini must have been with me in every car telling me what I did and did not like.
So did you think I got in the car, that I went out shopping with him?
Or was it just that regardless of what Ari did, he was going to ultimately come to the conclusion that she wanted?
That was that. So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Or do you believe in some new agey, foggy way that she was controlling him from afar while he was castrated?
All of the above. His answer is all of the above.
And she's even controlling that he loves the car.
Correct. Correct?
Yeah.
He's just saying he loves the car because he has to put up with me.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah.
You even controlled him when he had to make the list of things he wanted in a car?
Absolutely. Because those are all things I like in a car. And he was only going to get the things that I like.
Decided he will like.
Right. Exactly.
So he's just brown nosing you by saying he loves his car.
Yes. And he just committed to a car payment because he was brown nosing me.
Or he's just a box head.
Or just a box head. And you believe that, don't you?
Yes.
Cool. So never ask for advice from me. Got it?
Yes.
Because guess what? Who won't give it to you?
You.
I won't. I'll say no.
You'll say something like Mitsubishi, and it won't make any sense.
Helicopter.
Dirt
Helicopter.
bike.
Yeah. Helicopter. So, next dichotomy. Ready? Always in conflict. Always in conflict. Opposite.
At peace.
At peace. Always at peace.
So it is a negative.
Yeah, it is a negative. It is the family dynamic for families like Tammy's family that everybody is always in conflict. That is the goal. But it's the negative. Always at peace, diffusing conflict, which would then be a horrible thing for a family that is always in conflict. Exactly, which goes to what's the positive of always in conflict? Go ahead. Marianne, you were on there.
Thrill ride?
Thrill ride, energized, powerful. It's like a great drama. Oh my God. Who's going to smash the door next?
So the powerful part is the standing up for yourself. Because you're showing everyone how powerful you are by being in conflict.
You're not standing up for yourself. You think you are.
Correct.
You need to make that really
Yes.
clear.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you are not standing up for yourself.
So when you delegate upward, what are you doing? So it would be your kids always telling you what they need you to do for them. He just got angry. Oh, do you do that? For one particular one that I warned you about?
Yeah.
She figured out the game. Dee. Okay, and what's the negative of always at peace?
Boring.
No, always under siege. Always under siege. Correct. So, what do you do with people who are always in conflict? Because you can't beat them. You can't win.
Get out of the way.
You walk away. You get out of the playing field. You get off the playing field. Because what's their goal?
Conflict.
To put you in conflict. And if you're at peace, and that's what you like, they're always about distracting you, disrupting you, tripping you, jamming the signal. Correct? Okay, here's one for Glenn. He's going to love this. Delegates upward. It's a negative. Opposite.
Takes responsibility.
Takes responsibility, yes. What's the positive of delegates upward?
Off the hook.
Mm-mm. It's why you always would come and, can I show you this? Can I do that? Can I do this? And never learned. What were you doing? What did you call it?
Surrendering my outcome.
Nope. You were seeking feedback.
Yeah.
Seeks feedback. No, you weren't. You were looking to get us because you didn't want to then get to a point where you could do it yourself. You were always going to do the same thing over and over and over again and say, is this a pencil? Is this a pencil? Is this a pencil? Is this a pencil? And then the goal was to frustrate us. And then all I was trying to do was to seek feedback.
Under the guise of learning.
Learn.
I chose not to learn. Under the guise of learning, I was
You weren't,
not trying
yeah,
to learn.
you were trying not to learn. You were working, you called it whatever you called it. But in truth, what you were doing was looking to create conflict. That was the goal. Create conflict and have a happy family life. So frustrate everybody
And be the center of attention.
and be
Be
the center.
distraction.
Yes. So what is the negative from that kind of a person? The negative of takes responsibility. Because you did this and it was always breathtaking. Goes rogue. Whoa. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now I wanted to do just a couple of more before I want to get through these. Withholding communication, keeping secrets. These are tools that they use to make sure you're frustrated all the time. And how they communicate these are like weapons, amazing weapons. Withholding communication is an incredible weapon to get power and frustrate. And then prove that you're just delegating upward everything. Opposite, I'm just going to say, sharing, being transparent. And this is classic. I've had so many people do this when they withhold communication. And you got to remember, people who do withholding communication as a power trip, they communicate off the rails when it's completely inappropriate. So it's never not bothering you. Didn't want to bother. That's why I didn't. The positive withholding communication was not bothering you. Not bothering you. No, you didn't communicate when you needed to as a power trip, and you communicated when you needed to be quiet as a power trip.
The person is supposed to email you while you were on vacation.
Correct. So it's all about, you have to look and very important because workplaces, life will all say communicate or do certain things. But from the standpoint, if countries, people, everybody do not get to what their motivation and goal really is, really are, you don't get to those goals, you don't get to your motivation, you're going to use those words and completely operate from like, oh my God. So what's the problem with the negative of sharing and being transparent? Burdening. Burdening. Next one, initiates communication. This is from their point of view. Very important one. Initiates communication. This is from the upward delegator's point of view. Opposite of initiates communication. Withholds communication. So the negative of the one who initiates communication, loser, manipulated. In the situation where Ian, Aaron, and I used to live, the one who initiated was the one who lost. So the one who withholds the communication, the one who's going to not share, so you have to say, so you started, what happened? That's the initiator. Because they start, they expect, they're manipulating, they're sitting there silent, waiting for you to ask, and once you've asked, you've lost. Everyone know this game? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I have your number. I think it's a negative 500,000 number. Okay, so what is the positive of withholds communication?
Manage control.
Yeah, the delegator. The winner and the delegator. They're delegating and manipulating your way of going forward and how you're going to communicate. Right, Sarah?
Absolutely.
You got this?
This is making a lot of sense from both sides.
So to initiate communication is to confess weakness.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, finally a bell just went off. A bell that has been tolling for everyone. Oh my God. All right, so final one. Sure, you see everything. This goes to the mistakes. They don't make mistakes. They see everything. They know everything. They're at the level of they see everything. And I gotta say, did Arjuna think he saw everything until he was ready to see Krishna's form, correct? What happened?
Boom.
Boom. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. But he was sure. He sees everything. Sure, you see everything. Opposite. Aware of limitation. Knowing your blind spots.
Goes to staying in your own lane.
Stay on your own. But you'd have to know your
You know
lane.
your own lane.
You have to know you have a lane. The positive of sure you see everything. Always right. And the negative of aware of limitation and knowing your blind spots is doubting yourself. And I gotta say, if you don't ever doubt yourself and you're one of these people who's so sure you see everything, you don't have doubting yourself is the only way, it's the only wedge that's going to get in to that. You need to be able to acknowledge that you in fact doubt yourself. Yeah.
It's a tricky one because it's like you're talking about. There's a healthy
Doubting.
self-doubt.
Doubt.
So
Yeah.
I almost want to say it's not that the negative is self-doubt. It's like paralyzed with self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
But
because there's the healthy self-doubt of just checking.
Yeah, that's checking self.
Checking yourself.
Checking yourself.
You know?
Yeah. But these particular people don't see any value in checking themselves. They don't need to check themselves, right, Matt? Right, Tammy? Yep. So, were you so sure you'd finished all the work? Yeah. Yeah. So, is there any question of standard? It doesn't. So, it's whatever you decide is done, is done. So, you don't need a cake tester then. Because if you decide the cake is done at 20 minutes, you take it out and you're sure it's done.
And even if it was underdone, I wouldn't admit to it.
That's right, because you wouldn't have made a mistake. You can't make a mistake. You see it all. And you'd eat it with the raw egg and all. Sloppy, blah. This is the deal. And delegating upward, and you're thinking, I need your help. When people do that, no, I need to use you, is what they're saying. And if a person is committed to being good and loving and helping, they're the sucker. And nothing changes. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. This makes sense? And it goes back to code breaker. You got to know your algorithm. And break it. You have to be able to play Simon Says and play it. Who won with Simon Says? Who was the winner when you played Simon Says?
The one who obeyed.
The one who obeyed. And listened. Listened carefully.
Obeyed correctly. Right.
Right.
You were agile, because you had to listen quickly.
Quickly. And respond.
And there was an element of too, like sometimes the person who would be silent would say, they would actually touch their nose, but they'd say, Simon Says, touch your toes, but they would try and throw you off. So because you were learning and obeying before that, you learned how to pass the tests that would come along if you were willing to.
Yeah, you keep on. So the person who plays Simon would keep on up the ante.
Right.
And
For everyone's benefit.
For everyone's benefit to learn and grow. Did you ever play it?
I did.
Why was your answer no?
I was not good at it.
You weren't good at it. Did you play it?
I have played it.
Why is your answer known? Is your answer no?
Yes, it's no.
It's no. So did you play this game or your idea of Simon Says? Ah. So the game we just communicated about, you didn't play. You played your idea of Simon Says, which would have been a completely different game. It would have been Matt Says. Did you ever play Simon Says?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, your answer is no.
No, but
Well, it would be like you didn't make mistakes in Tai Chi.
that's what it's a game of power for me.
Yeah, it's all power. Everything's about power. So did you want to frustrate Simon? Ah, there you go. That wasn't the way the game was played. And that definitely was not the way to win the game. I'm sure you didn't. But in your house, no one wins. You just stay in conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're gonna frame it that way, the way to frustrate Simon is to win the game.
Correct, because then he's done. Right. But that would never, that
It's
would,
just funny to just see
right.
how that scheme plays out.
Right, but it would never be thought to then, that would be a solution would never arise. That solution would never arise. So here's one based on if you understand why I yell at people. If you didn't want me to yell at you, what should you do? No. No, it's not about obeying. What should you do?
Being honest and your experience.
Part of it.
Take responsibility.
It's about loving. It's about loving. If you all just actually truly loved from the bottom of your heart, would you still make mistakes? Yeah. Would it be then a way to learn? Yes. Would you get over it really quickly? That's it. But a person who sees just conflict and sees it as arbitrary because they can't see that peony stem, she just yells. Yeah, can't see what's underneath. So I'm just going to give you all a clue. If you don't want me to ever yell at you again, be with your experience, whatever it is. Let whatever comes up come up from that experience. Function appropriately. Be honest and true. What was yours? Take responsibility. Obey is not the thing, because sometimes it's inappropriate to obey. You only obey after you've gotten somewhere where you can actually see. Yeah.
So it's like appropriate obedience is a byproduct.
Correct. Correct.
Well, and two, I mean, we've already, like, this whole class, you know, with Ari with the car, he obeyed his dad.
Correct.
So that was inappropriate. That wasn't
Yeah,
the right way to
he
go.
obeyed. Yeah.
Well, and to piggyback that, Ari also made the point earlier in class today that he was not blind following. He didn't conflate obeying because he knew from past experience that obeying was not blind following in this case.
Correct. Correct. So, doing all those things, and truly loving. And at the very least, working toward love. Truly working toward love. Not saying I want love, but you have to, in order to work toward love, you have to be willing to be with your experience, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Thank you.